Well, hey YouTube, welcome back once again to Photoshop Elements TV. And today we're going to be talking, obviously what the title says and gives it away all the time, but hey, it is what it is, right? Today we're talking about Camera Raw. So why do you want to shoot in Camera Raw? And I'm going to show you how to edit a Camera Raw picture in Photoshop Elements. So without further ado, let's get started. So here I have a picture that I recently took. Well, I guess it was somewhere in the summertime, which is a little better than right now, being it's winter. This is a picture that we have here on the desk right now, desktop of Erie, Pennsylvania. So what I'm going to do here, I have this in my organizer. We're going to right click on it and we're going to say edit it with Photoshop Elements Editor. We're going to edit this photo. And when we do so, it comes up in what's known as the Camera Raw Editor. So why do you first of all want to shoot in Camera Raw? Well, it's very simple. Camera Raw allows you to capture the whole entire image without any compression. Now, when we shoot in JPEG or when we shoot in something like TIFF, either of those, or PNG, either of those are actually compressing the image. So it's taking all the colors, and the cameras are very good nowadays, don't get me wrong. They work very, very well. But it takes the whole image and it takes the color and its best guess, its best match, and it compresses all that down, okay, to a single image. But when we shoot in Camera Raw, it allows us to actually, in the editor, change a lot more settings than what we could if it was just simply a JPEG image. So why do we want to do that? Why is that important? Let's say, for instance, I used to shoot a lot of weddings. So I'd go out and shoot a wedding and I would shoot, I don't know, 150, 200 pictures in Camera Raw. I'd come back and open each one in this raw editor. But if you needed color corrections, and not only that, if you need white balance corrections, it just made a lot more sense to shoot them in Camera Raw, and it allowed me more abilities to do more edits. So here's the Camera Raw picture sitting here in the Camera Raw editor. We are in Photoshop Elements. I will tell you, make sure that you update your Camera Raw, especially if you buy a new camera, because you'll say, well, I bought a new camera, but now the pictures won't show up. Make sure you update your Camera Raw software, the editor in Photoshop Elements. The first thing we're going to do here is simply look at under white balance. See where it says as shot right here on the right. So if we click this pull down menu, now you can see where we have all these different choices. All these choices are such choices that you would have in the camera when you're doing custom white balance. So let's say we want to change this to daylight. And okay, we're not seeing much change here in daylight, so we will go to cloudy. Now, cloudy, you can see where it looks like the sky's actually blown out, right? So we don't want to use cloudy. You can use shade. Shade, again, looks like it's kind of blown out. Tungsten makes it really blue, right, or really cool. I just explained it to a friend of mine the other day. If something is a cool image, it's blue. If something is too hot, then it looks yellowish, okay? So really cool is tungsten. Fluorescent. Now, fluorescent doesn't look too bad. Even though obviously we know that this photograph wasn't shot with fluorescent lighting. It was outside during a sunny day. Here's flash. Flash makes it look kind of weird. The color's a little bit off. And custom white balance could be anything you want it to be. We can use the eyedropper then. We can come over here and we can look for something that's neutrally gray, not so much white. And we can click on it. So I'm looking for something here. Maybe this pole is a little bit white right here at the left or the right. And that still isn't too pleasing. So we're going to go ahead and set this, believe it or not, to fluorescent, because I think that looks pretty good. We can adjust the temperature then just by simply changing the slider. And again, it's kind of cool right now. It's to the left. We can pull it to the right. And you can see the picture slowly changing. If you get it too far, see how it's yellow? That's because the lighting temperature is too hot. That's what that means. So we're going to pull this back to the left and make it that pleasing blue look, the blue sky and the blue water. Okay. For tint, we can actually change the tint back and forth. We can see the different colors there for the tint. Still getting over a cold there. Forgive me if I sniff a little bit. Exposure, you can overexpose it. And we can underexpose it. Okay, so we want to bring our exposure back up, make it pleasing to you. Editing a photograph is basically your eye. you're looking at the photograph and you're trying to see what it looks like based on your likings. Okay. Contrast, we can make it more contrasty or less. Highlights brings up the highlights of the photo. So whatever picture is like lit, or you can bring those down. You can bring down the highlights. Just leave it in the middle. We're going to drop this contrast down just a little bit here. The shadows obviously is talking about any area of the picture where there's a shadow. The shadowed areas of the photographs. We can bring this up and down. We're going to actually bring it down a little bit. It looks more pleasing. The whites, so anywhere where there is white, and there's not a lot of white in this photograph, but we can pull that up or down. Okay. The blacks obviously is opposite from the whites, right? So we have the whites, and then we have the black areas of the photograph. Let's pull that down or pull it up. Okay. And be careful not to underexpose a photograph. It's been one of the things I've seen over the years of doing photography work is when I take a photograph and if I make it too dark on the monitor and I print that thing, when I send it out to the developer, it tends to be even darker. So you want to go a little bit more on the light side as far as being able to get that photograph printed properly. Clarity, you can actually make it really clear or less, okay? So less, if you make it less clear, if you look at that picture right there, it kind of looks like everything is like blurred, like a blurry type thing. So we want to bring that clarity up where the water is rippling. We can see the water. Okay, there's a little bit of wind that day. I do remember this day. Vibrance is how much vibrant of the color. How much color can we have vibrant showing up there? So we're going to bring up the vibrance of the color. Okay. And see, now it makes it really, really deep blue. Notice the trees in the background are really getting green. Okay, let's bring that back just a little bit here. That looks pretty good. And then saturation. How much do you want your color to saturate that picture? Look, if we bring it all the way over, you can see where everything, all the colors are popping. They're all saturated. Check out the blue crane here in the back, right? Look how blue that is and how much yellow is on that crane. You couldn't see that before. But that, to me, that's a little bit oversaturated. So we're going to pull it back a little bit. Still keeping the blueness in the skies. The details you have down here on the bottom. Okay, we have details. We have sharpening. Sharpening is very hard to really see. Okay, unless the picture is so unsharp and you're sharpening it up, which means you're basically bringing the details of the picture up and you're making them really, really crisp. Okay, that's a sharpening. So we can sharpen this up a little bit here. Just see what we can get there. Noise reduction. Anytime you need noise reduction is if you raise your ISO setting to a certain height because you're trying to get more light into your camera because you're shooting in a darker situation. I know that's a lot of tongue twisting there, right? So ISO settings, if you get your ISO settings up to 1500 or 2500, a picture can get noisy. Not noisy like you put headphones on, you can hear it. No, that's not it at all. Noise is a product of not enough light, and it gives the picture a graininess look to it. And a lot of people say, you know, this picture is no good, I'm going to throw it away. Well, don't throw it away. If you're shooting camera raw, you can actually come into the camera raw editor and reduce some of that noise where you may just make it a usable photograph. The next thing is color noise reduction. Same thing based on color. You're getting the graininess in the colored areas, okay? Calibration, we don't mess much with this, but you can look at the different calibrations that's in here. Right now we're on version 5 is the current, and I would just leave the calibration on version 5. So, in a nutshell, that is the Camera Raw editor. The only other things you can do to it here is you can set a profile. Okay, we can actually save this as a profile. We can crop the image. You can see here where we can crop it right in the Camera Raw editor. Don't know why you'd want to do it there. I'd rather do it in the full editor, so I wouldn't really mess with that. Red eye reduction, if you have any red eye. Red eye is hard to get nowadays, right? On modern photography and modern cameras. Unless it's kind of really low light and you're using the pop-up flash on your camera, which I would never recommend. If you're here watching these, I'd recommend an off-camera flash, or at least use a hot shoe flash where you can point the flash up. Maybe one day we'll talk about that. I know this channel is more along the lines of, you know, Photoshop Elements editing and not really photography, but I may mix the two up at some point. So we don't really need that, okay? And more imaging settings here, really nothing under there. So let's go back up to the top. Once you have all of your custom settings done and everything's the way you like it, and you go, yep, that picture's pretty good, I like it that way, you will click on Open. Okay, don't click on Done because it gets rid of all your edits and just closes the picture. We are going to click on Open. Once you click on Open, what's going to happen is it's going to take all those changes and open it into Photoshop Elements Full Editor under the Expert mode. And you can start working even more with the image, and we will look at that in another video. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed this video on using Camera Raw and why you shoot Camera Raw. You know, like I said, I've been doing a lot of photography over the years. I don't do weddings anymore. I do engagement pictures, and I do senior portraits for seniors in high school. I've been doing those for quite a few years, and I love those because they're on location. You go out, you take the senior out there with their parent, and you do a lot of photography. Maybe they do some different clothes changes, and it's just very rewarding to me to come back, edit those photos, and get those to that senior, how thrilled they are. One, that they're graduating, and two, that they now have some beautiful photographs to use in the yearbook or for posters or whatever may you have. And engagement pictures are great because you can always do a do-over. Folks, if you shoot a wedding, you get one shot. We could talk about that someday, about wedding photography, what I found over the years, and I could even tell you why I don't do them anymore. It was nothing that happened as much as it's simply just I lost my luxury for doing it, right? I lost the feel for it. So there's plenty of wedding photographers out there. And if you are one, bless you, and do all the best jobs you can do. And I'm sure you are doing a fantastic job. Folks, thank you so much for watching this episode of Photoshop Elements TV. And I'm sorry I'm not really consistent of getting these videos out to you. I am going to work here to become more consistent, try to pick a day of the week. We're going to sit down here in the studio, come up with a new edit for you, and actually show you how to use more of your Photoshop elements. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, by all means, drop those in the comments below. If you're not subscribed to the channel, why not? Simply click that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. And tell your friends about it, all your photography friends, photography groups. Bring up this channel, Photoshop Elements TV. Folks, thank you again so much for watching. Until next time, remember, keep those shutters clicking, keep your editors editing, and I will see you back here next time on Photoshop Elements TV. Bye for now.